There is a law older than time itself, one that no religion owns, yet every soul must answer to. It's silent, invisible, and precise. And if you've ever betrayed a Scorpio, you've already triggered it. This isn't superstition. It's not about revenge. It's about the sacred balance of energy that governs the universe. Because when you betray a Scorpio, you are not just breaking trust, you are disturbing karma's most ancient equilibrium. In my years of studying the Scorpio archetype, I've learned something that most astrologers are afraid to say out loud. Scorpio is not just a sign. It's a karmic gatekeeper, a guardian of cosmic justice hidden in human form. They are the soul that life entrusts with both the poison and the cure. And betrayal is the moment that awakens the poison. People often think of Scorpio as vengeful, dramatic, even cruel, but that's the illusion. What truly happens when you cross them is far deeper, far quieter, and infinitely more spiritual. Karma doesn't roar, it whispers, and it always finds its way back. I've seen it too many times. Someone lies to a Scorpio thinking they've escaped. Months later, their own life begins to unravel in ways too specific to be coincidence. Opportunities vanish, relationships crumble, peace dissolves. It's not Scorpio's doing, it's the universe adjusting the scales. And maybe that's why you're here, because deep down you feel it. The weight of something unbalanced, something unspoken, something karmic that began the moment a Scorpio's trust was broken. You might be a Scorpio yourself, one who has carried silent pain and wondered why your forgiveness never felt complete. Or perhaps you are someone who walked away from a Scorpio only to find that the echoes of that choice still follow you. Stay with me until the end, because what you will hear today is not a warning, it's a revelation. A truth that connects ancient Buddhist wisdom with the Scorpio soul, that every betrayal against a Scorpio is not an ending, but the beginning of karma's most silent punishment. Take a breath, and let's begin. Comment if this resonates with you. Have you ever felt that karmic silence after betrayal? Now let's uncover the first truth, the invisible contract. The unspoken spiritual law that binds every soul to Scorpio's energy. Part 1. The invisible contract. Before a Scorpio lets you into their life, something ancient happens, something older than any spoken promise. It isn't a handshake, a vow, or even a word. It's an exchange of energy, unseen, unheard. But it binds both souls like a contract written in light. This is the first and most misunderstood law of Scorpio karma. Every connection with them is sacred. When they choose you, they give you a portion of their energy, their focus, their silence, their secrets. And with that gift, the universe automatically records an invisible agreement, one that says, what is given in purity must not be betrayed. You see, in Buddhist philosophy, every act of intention creates a ripple in the unseen field of existence. When that intention is pure, built on loyalty, love, and depth, the ripple becomes sacred. But when it is violated, the ripple turns into a storm. That storm doesn't begin outside you, it begins within. Betrayal is not simply an external event, it is an energetic fracture, a tearing of an invisible thread that once connected two spirits. When that tear occurs in the presence of Scorpio, the universe rushes to restore balance, not out of punishment, but out of divine necessity. Because Scorpio energy represents the 8th house of the zodiac, the realm of death, transformation, and rebirth. Their soul is wired to reveal truth, to expose corruption, and to return everything to its original equilibrium. So when you lie to a Scorpio, when you betray their trust, when you mock their silence, you are not simply hurting them, you are triggering a cosmic reflex. You are telling the universe, I am ready to face the truth I tried to escape. That's why betrayal never ends with Scorpio. It continues, it echoes through time. Sometimes the consequence comes quickly, a job lost, a friendship broken, a strange coincidence that feels like divine irony. Other times it comes quietly years later when you finally fall in love again, and this time you're the one who gets betrayed. That's not a curse. That's reflection. A Scorpio doesn't have to say a word for this to happen. They don't need revenge because they understand something most people forget. The universe always rebalances what is taken from integrity. Once you understand this, you begin to see Scorpio differently. Their silence is not cruelty, it's calibration. Their distance is not indifference, it's spiritual mathematics at work. Because behind every Scorpio's intensity lies a hidden awareness, a sense that energy never disappears. It only changes form. They may forgive you on the surface, but that forgiveness isn't a full release, it's a surrender to the law of cause and effect. They hand your actions over to karma itself, knowing that the cosmic scale will handle what their words never need to. I once met a Scorpio woman who said, "When someone lies to me, I don't get angry, I just step aside, because I've learned that the universe is a far better judge than my emotions." Months later, the same person who deceived her lost everything they had manipulated to gain, not by her hand, but by the perfect symmetry of karma. This is the invisible contract. It's not Scorpio's rule, it's the universe's. Scorpio simply embodies it. Their presence in your life is a mirror, a test of integrity. When you act with truth, they amplify your blessings. But the moment you act in deceit, that mirror turns dark, showing you the reflection of your own shadow. Pause for a moment. Think of a Scorpio you've known, one who stood by you, believed in you, protected you. If that relationship ended in betrayal, can you feel the echo of it even now, that quiet unease that never truly faded? That is the contract rebalancing itself. Comment if this resonates with you. Have you ever felt that karmic ripple, that strange shift in your life after betraying or being betrayed by a Scorpio? Because what we call Scorpio revenge is not an act of cruelty, it's the universe correcting what was unbalanced. And that brings us to the next truth, one that defines Scorpio more than any other: their memory of the soul. They don't remember with the mind, they remember with energy. Let's step into part 2, the memory of the soul, and uncover why Scorpio never truly forgets and why the universe needs them to remember. Part 2, the memory of the soul. There's a saying among ancient mystics, the soul keeps better records than the mind ever could. Nowhere is that more true than with Scorpio. To understand a Scorpio, you must first understand this: they do not remember the past, they relive it. Their memories are not mental files, they are living energies that remain imprinted within their emotional field. Every word you spoke, every promise you made, every subtle lie that flickered behind your smile, it's all recorded not as data, but as vibration. This is why a Scorpio's silence is so unsettling. They are not ignoring you, they are reviewing you. They are replaying every energetic signature you ever left on their soul feeling, where truth existed and where deceit took root. In Buddhist wisdom, there's a concept called vasana impressions, left by past actions that remain in consciousness, shaping future experience. Scorpio is the living embodiment of vasana. They carry these imprints until the karmic lesson is complete. That is why they seem obsessed or unable to move on. It's not attachment, it's cosmic accountings. The universe uses their memory as an instrument of justice. Imagine a black box on an airplane, indestructible, eternal, preserving every moment before a crash. That's what Scorpio's inner world becomes after betrayal. They don't record it for vengeance, they record it for truth, because the truth, no matter how painful, is the seed of transformation. I once asked a Scorpio man, "Why don't you ever forget?" He looked at me and said, "Forgetting means losing the lesson." And I refused to waste the pain the universe gave me. That single sentence explains the depth of the Scorpio soul. They see memory not as punishment, but as sacred evidence, evidence that must be held until the cycle is balanced. And when the universe is ready, that evidence is handed over to karma itself, without bitterness, without hate, but with absolute clarity. This is why people often mistake Scorpios quiet for coldness. In truth, their calm hides an entire courtroom of the spirit. Every act, every word, every betrayal stands trial there not to condemn, but to reveal. You may think they've moved on, but they haven't forgotten, because forgetting is not healing, it's avoidance. And Scorpio does not avoid, they transform. Have you ever noticed how life seems to return a Scorpio's pain to its source, perfectly timed, perfectly measured? That's not coincidence, it's resonance. In physics, energy can't be destroyed, it can only be transferred. In karma, betrayal can't vanish, it must return. So when you betray a Scorpio, you're not planting a grudge in their heart, you're planting energy in the soil of karma. And the harvest always comes. It might return as silence, the kind that makes you question your own integrity. It might return as circumstances watching your own betrayal mirrored back to you by someone else. Or if you are meant to awaken, it might return as deep regret, that haunting realization that you lost something pure, something sacred, something irreplaceable. That is Scorpio's memory at work. Not memory as a weapon, but memory as a mirror. Because here is the spiritual truth. What Scorpio remembers, the universe reconciles. Their memory is not revenge. It's the bridge between action and awakening. Comment if this resonates with you. Have you ever been haunted by a memory you couldn't shake, one that kept returning until you understood its lesson? Because that's what Scorpio teaches us, to stop running from what hurts, to face it, feel it, and transform it into power. This brings us to the next truth, perhaps the most sacred of all. It's not just about memory, it's about loyalty, the divine pact that Scorpio holds as sacred law. Let's step into part 3, loyalty as a sacred temple, and uncover why betraying a Scorpio's trust is not merely a mistake, it is a spiritual desecration. Part 3, loyalty as a sacred temple. If memory is Scorpio's record of truth, then loyalty is their temple of worship. To be loved by a Scorpio is to be invited into that temple, a place not built of walls or rituals, but of sacred trust. And like all sacred spaces, it demands reverence. You see, loyalty to a Scorpio isn't a social contract. It's a spiritual vow. When they choose to trust you, they give you something holy, access to their inner sanctuary, the space they guard from the world. You don't enter it by right, you enter it by grace. In that sacred space, Scorpio does something most people can't. They merge. Their energy, their emotions, their soul intertwine with yours. It's not half love, it's not casual affection, it's full spiritual investment. And that's why betrayal to them isn't just painful, it's sacrilegious. Because in their eyes, to betray loyalty is to desecrate the altar of connection. It's like walking into a temple, lighting a candle for devotion, and then blowing it out with deceit. In Buddhist teaching, the Buddha once said that trust is the foundation of all right relationships. Scorpio lives this truth more than any other sign. They don't see loyalty as optional, they see it as karma's language. When you are loyal to them, the universe blesses that bond with extraordinary energy. Doors open, intuition deepens, protection surrounds you. It's as if the cosmos itself watches over those who stand in truth beside a Scorpio. But the moment you betray that bond, something shifts. That same energy that once shielded you begins to dissolve. The blessings stop. The harmony fades. It's not Scorpio's revenge, it's the withdrawal of divine favor. I once counseled a Scorpio man who had been betrayed by his closest friend. He didn't yell, didn't retaliate, didn't curse. He simply said, "I built a temple in my heart for him." He set fire to it, so I let it burn. That night, he meditated for hours, visualizing the flames consuming the pain until only ashes remained. When he emerged, he wasn't bitter, he was purified. That's the spiritual mastery of Scorpio. They turn destruction into cleansing fire. They allow betrayal to burn away illusions, to reveal what was never real. If you've ever been loved by a Scorpio, you've felt this sacred intensity. Their loyalty doesn't just protect you, it transforms you. It demands that you rise to your highest truth because anything less feels like sin within that bond. They don't want perfection. They want honesty. They want the kind of transparency that keeps the temple's flame burning bright. But when deceit enters that space, when lies pollute that sacred air, the universe itself recoils. Why? Because truth is harmony, and harmony is divine order. When you violate it, you disrupt the flow of energy between two souls, and Scorpio being ruled by Pluto, the planet of death and rebirth, becomes the vessel through which that disruption is purified. So when you betray them, they withdraw their light. You feel that withdrawal like a sudden spiritual eclipse, a darkness that no apology can quickly undo. And in that absence, karma begins its silent work. Many people fear Scorpio because of this. They say Scorpios are too intense, too serious, too hard to read. But the truth is, they simply see relationships as sacred ground, and they expect others to walk that ground with awareness. When you hurt them, you don't just lose a person, you lose access to a spiritual frequency. The universe stops speaking to you in the same way, because the energy that once flowed through that bond has gone back to its source, to Scorpio, where it will be cleansed and transformed. Think of it this way. Every relationship is a bridge made of light. When you betray a Scorpio, that bridge collapses and the light returns to them. But when the bridge stands strong, built on loyalty, it becomes an unbreakable channel through which love, growth, and karma flow in harmony. This is why, even years after the connection ends, people often find themselves haunted by the Scorpio they betrayed. Not because that Scorpio cursed them, but because the temple they defiled still exists in the memory of the universe. And until they seek forgiveness, the echoes of that temple's silence follow them everywhere. Pause here for a moment. Think about the last time someone betrayed you. Did you feel that spiritual dissonance, that vibration that said something sacred had been broken? That is the energy Scorpio feels 100-fold. Comment if this resonates with you. Have you ever experienced a betrayal that felt less like a breakup and more like a desecration of trust itself? Because in Scorpio's world, loyalty isn't just about staying, it's about honoring the divine in another person. And that is why betrayal is not merely emotional, it's karmic. Now that we've entered the temple of loyalty, we must explore what happens when that temple is shattered. When trust collapses, the universe responds not with chaos, but with balance. Let's step into part 4, the energetic mirror, and uncover how every act of betrayal against a Scorpio becomes the reflection through which the betrayer sees themselves. Part 4, the energetic mirror. Every action is an echo, every word a wave, every intention a spark that vibrates across unseen dimensions. The universe does not judge these vibrations, it reflects them. And when it comes to Scorpio, that reflection is magnified through one of the most mysterious laws in existence, the energetic mirror. This mirror is not symbolic, it is real. It's the unseen mechanism through which karma observes records and returns energy in perfect symmetry. Scorpio ruled by Pluto, and water is its human embodiment. They are not the judge, they are the reflection. When you betray them, you are not punished by their will. You are confronted by your own energy bouncing back. That's why people who deceive or hurt a Scorpio often feel an uncanny reversal. The same manipulation they used is turned against them. The same silence they weaponized now haunts them. The same emotional neglect they gave is returned tenfold, not by the Scorpio's hand, but by the cosmic mirror operating through them. To understand this, imagine karma as light. Whatever energy you emit, that light reflects back to you with equal intensity. Scorpio is the mirror that makes that reflection visible. If your actions are pure, the mirror amplifies beauty. If your actions are deceitful, the mirror amplifies shadow. Either way, Scorpio's presence accelerates your evolution because you cannot lie to your reflection. In Buddhist teachings, there's a phrase, "The universe holds no grudges, it only repeats lessons until they are learned." This is Scorpio's essence. They don't seek revenge, they embody repetition. The lesson returns until the soul understands. I remember a Scorpio woman who was betrayed by someone she deeply loved. She didn't curse him or seek justice. She simply said, "He will see himself soon." And he did. Months later, he entered a relationship with someone who mirrored his own deception. Every lie he once told came back to him not as punishment, but as revelation. He confessed later that it was like watching my own cruelty wearing someone else's face. That's what Scorpio energy does. It shows you who you are, stripped of pretense, framed by karma's truth. This is why betrayal against them feels like an inescapable reckoning, because in hurting them you activate your own reflection. And yet, there's a deeper beauty hidden in this law. The mirror doesn't exist to destroy, it exists to awaken. When Scorpio mirrors your darkness, it's the universe's invitation to cleanse yourself, to see the truth you've ignored. That's why Scorpio connections often change people permanently. You might hate them, fear them, or miss them, but you never forget them, because through them, you met yourself. If you ever wonder why Scorpio energy feels so intense, it's because they hold this mirror without distortion. Most people filter emotions, disguise intentions, hide truths. Scorpio does not. Their honesty cuts through illusion, forcing everything into clarity. It's uncomfortable, but it's sacred. So when you betray a Scorpio, the discomfort you feel isn't their anger, it's your energy rebounding through their field. It's karma using them as the instrument of balance. And in that sense, every Scorpio you've wronged becomes your spiritual teacher, though their lessons are rarely gentle. In time, you'll notice that Scorpio doesn't gloat when karma unfolds. They don't need to. They understand that truth doesn't need witnesses. They watch in silence, not from arrogance, but from spiritual maturity, because they know life always brings balance. Here lies the paradox of Scorpio. They suffer deeply, but their suffering refines them into light. And in reflecting your darkness, they also purge their own. That is why Scorpio's evolution is the path of the phoenix. Each betrayal burns them, but also burns away everything false within them. Pause here. Think of the people you've met who challenged your integrity just by existing, those who forced you to confront your truth. Did you love them? Hate them? Or did they awaken something you didn't know needed healing? That is the energy of Scorpio. They are the universe's mirror, fierce, silent, precise. Comment if this resonates with you. Have you ever felt the mirror turn back toward you, seen your own actions reflected in another's behavior? Because when it comes to Scorpio, karma doesn't punish, it teaches. And the deeper the lesson, the greater the transformation. Now that we've understood how this mirror operates, it's time to see what happens next. What follows after the betrayal, after the reflection, after the fall. The universe does not end in punishment, it ends in renewal. That's where we enter the next realm of Scorpio's truth, the fire of transformation. Part 5. The fire of transformation. When the mirror of karma closes, a different force awakens fire. Not the kind that destroys, but the kind that refines. It is through this fire that Scorpio becomes what no other sign dares to be, the alchemist of pain. Every betrayal, every heartbreak, every loss, it all feeds this sacred fire within them. Most people run from pain. Scorpio walks straight into it. Because somewhere deep in their soul they know that pain is not the end, it is the beginning of transformation. The Buddhists call it tapas, the fire of purification. In spiritual tradition, fire symbolizes consciousness. It burns ignorance, illusion, and ego until only truth remains. And Scorpio, ruled by Pluto, is that consciousness embodied. They do not just feel pain, they digest it, turning every emotional toxin into wisdom. You might wonder how they do it. How does someone survive betrayal so deep it breaks the spirit? The answer is both simple and profound. They surrender to the flames. They allow suffering to dismantle every false layer of identity until they are forced to remember who they really are, pure awareness. I once met a Scorpio woman who said, "My heartbreaks didn't destroy me. They burned away the person I was pretending to be. That's the secret. When life shatters, Scorpio doesn't rebuild the same structure. They rise as something entirely new, stronger, wiser, more compassionate, yet infinitely more discerning. That's why betrayal against a Scorpio never ends with their fall. It ends with their ascension. It's as if the universe uses pain to initiate them, to awaken their true power. Each betrayal becomes a spiritual ceremony, a cremation of the ego followed by rebirth. In Buddhist symbolism, the lotus grows from the mud. For Scorpio, the fire is their mud. They rise not despite it, but because of it. When you see a Scorpio who has been through heartbreak and still chooses to love again, understand that you are witnessing enlightenment in human form. They no longer love from attachment. They love from understanding. Their compassion no longer needs words. It radiates through presence. And their silence no longer hides pain. It contains peace. This is the sacred paradox of Scorpio. They feel deeper than anyone yet emerge freer than everyone, because through the fire they have learned that nothing real can be destroyed. You see, when a Scorpio burns, it is not vengeance that fuels the flame, it is truth. Their fire consumes illusions, clears karma, and illuminates everything that was once hidden. And in that illumination, they find their liberation. That's why they don't fear endings. For them, endings are doorways. Every betrayal, every goodbye, every silence, all of it is a threshold to rebirth. If you've ever watched a Scorpio disappear after being hurt, don't assume they're broken. They are being reforged. They are in the sacred forge of the soul where ego melts and essence remains. When they return, they are no longer who you left behind. They come back as the phoenix, not to prove you wrong, but to show what transformation truly means. And when they do, the world feels it. Their energy changes rooms. Their presence feels like truth in motion, because they have seen the end and returned carrying light. Pause for a moment. Think about your own life. Have you ever been through something that felt like fire, an experience so painful you thought it would end you, but somehow it made you wiser? That is Scorpio energy. That is the fire that doesn't destroy, but renews. Comment if this resonates with you. Have you ever walked through your own fire and come out changed? Because for Scorpio, the fire is the path. It is their meditation, their purification, and their freedom. And that brings us to the next revelation, the return of energy, where we will explore how the universe redistributes every vibration released through betrayal, and why the energy you give to a Scorpio always finds its way back to you. Part 6. The return of energy. Every universe operates on one eternal truth. Nothing you give ever disappears. It moves, it transforms, but it never dies. And this is the essence of Scorpio's world, the sacred exchange of energy. When you love them, that energy amplifies and returns to you in unexpected blessings. But when you betray them, that same energy reverses its flow. It travels back to you carrying the vibration of your own intent. The universe doesn't punish, it mirrors. And Scorpio is that mirror made flesh. You might not feel the return immediately. Sometimes it takes weeks, months, even years. But the energy always finds its way home, because everything you send into Scorpio's field, every lie, every kindness, every truth, is absorbed, transmuted, and eventually returned in its purest form. Buddhist masters often describe karma as the echo of your own footsteps. When you shout into a mountain, your own voice comes back to you. The louder the emotion, the stronger the echo. And when you direct energy toward a Scorpio, that mountain becomes a volcano capable of amplifying whatever you send. I once heard a Scorpio man say, "If someone sends me love, I give them life. If they send me hate, I give them truth." That is not arrogance, that is alchemy. He understood that energy doesn't vanish, it evolves. The moment you wrong a Scorpio, you've already entered into a karmic exchange. You've sent a signal into their energetic field, and that signal will not be lost. It will travel through their silence, through their transformation, through their healing, and then purified by their fire, it will return to you, not as revenge, but as reflection. You see, Scorpios are not avengers, they are transformers. When they are hurt, they don't throw the pain back, they process it. They meditate on it, they hold it in their energy until it reveals its truth. And once they understand it, they release it back into the world as clarity, power, and inevitability. That's why betraying a Scorpio never ends with an argument. It ends with life teaching you a lesson you can't escape. When you steal from them emotionally, spiritually, energetically, you've borrowed from karma's vault, and karma always collects. But if your love is genuine, if your loyalty is sincere, that same law becomes your greatest blessing. Because Scorpio's energy multiplies purity just as powerfully as it returns deceit. Love them with honesty and they'll magnetize abundance into your life. Support them in truth and their protection becomes your armor. They will defend you not only in this lifetime, but in energetic ways you cannot see: dreams, intuition, synchronicities. Because loyalty vibrates higher than betrayal. In the Buddhist wheel of karma, every action creates a seed. That seed, watered by intention, grows into experience. Scorpio's field is the perfect soil, rich, deep, magnetic. Plant love there and you'll harvest miracles. Plant lies there and you'll harvest lessons. This is the cosmic equation that Scorpio embodies. What you send into them will always return, but intensified. If you lied to them with a cold heart, the universe will bring you a colder truth. If you loved them in purity, the universe will bring you a purer joy. Because Scorpio energy doesn't play with balance, it is balance. Pause for a moment and think. Who in your life has reflected your own actions back to you? Have you ever loved someone and received the same love multiplied? Or have you betrayed someone and found that same wound waiting for you later? Comment if this resonates with you. Have you felt the return of your own energy disguised as coincidence, karma, or divine timing? For Scorpio, this law is not abstract, it's sacred geometry. Energy always seeks equilibrium, and Scorpio is the point of correction. Their presence in your life reveals what your soul is sending out and invites you to refine it. And this leads us to the next revelation, the silent justice. Because when the energy completes its return and karma restores the balance, Scorpio doesn't celebrate. They simply watch, in silence. For in that silence, the universe speaks louder than vengeance ever could. Part 7. The silent justice. There comes a point in every Scorpio's life when they realize that justice doesn't require sound. It only requires truth. And truth in its purest form is silent. This is where Scorpio's power transcends the human realm and touches the divine. When wronged, they do not chase, they do not shout, they do not fight. They retreat into silence, and in that silence, karma begins its most sacred work. To the unwise, their silence looks like weakness, but the awakened know silence is not absence. It is judgment unfolding in invisible motion. Because when Scorpio turns away, they are not escaping the situation, they are stepping aside to allow the universe to act. Their silence becomes a temple where cosmic justice is performed without words. You see, vengeance is human, silence is divine. And Scorpio, more than any other sign, understands that the universe never misses what human eyes cannot see. When they walk away from betrayal, they carry no weapon, only presence. And that presence lingers. It stays in the energy field of the betrayer, like a soft echo, like a mirror left open. Every thought of guilt, every sleepless night, every strange coincidence that is karma whispering through Scorpio's silence. People often misunderstand this part of their nature. They call them cold, detached, unforgiving. But the truth is simpler and far more sacred. Scorpio doesn't punish. They permit. They permit the universe to handle what they could destroy with a single word, and that restraint is what makes them powerful beyond comprehension. In Buddhist philosophy, there is a teaching that says, the wise do not react. They respond through non-action. Scorpio lives this truth. Their silence is not inaction, it's alignment. They align themselves with the flow of Dharma, the law of balance. They understand that to interfere with karma is to take on its burden, and Scorpio refuses to carry what the universe is already correcting. That's why when they go quiet after betrayal, strange things begin to happen. The energy of deceit begins to unravel. The liar loses credibility. The manipulator's mask slips. People begin to see the truth without Scorpio ever speaking. Their silence becomes illumination. Their absence becomes revelation. This is the paradox of Scorpio justice. It never needs an announcement, yet it always arrives. I once met a Scorpio woman who had been betrayed by her business partner. She discovered the deceit, smiled, and simply said, "I wish you well." Then she vanished from his life completely. 6 months later, his empire crumbled, not because she exposed him, but because the structure was built on the same lies that destroyed their partnership. Her silence was the catalyst. That is Scorpio's form of prayer. Quiet, powerful, exact. Their silence sends ripples through the ether, activating the laws that govern truth and consequence. It's not superstition, it's energy mathematics. For every imbalance, there must be restoration. For every deception, exposure. For every betrayal, revelation. And Scorpio waits, not in bitterness, but in faith, because they know the universe keeps perfect records and time is the witness. This is why Scorpio energy feels intimidating. You can't lie to someone who doesn't speak, but sees. Their silence holds the weight of cosmic authority. When they finally look away, it's already too late. The wheel of karma has begun to turn. To betray a Scorpio is to sentence yourself to meet your own energy face to face. They don't curse you. They don't wish you harm. They simply let your actions echo until you finally hear yourself. And when you do, you'll understand what their silence truly meant. It was never about revenge. It was compassion at its highest form, because they knew that no punishment they could deliver would be as enlightening as the one the universe would prepare for you. Pause for a moment. Think about someone who went quiet after you hurt them. Did you feel that silence chasing you in your thoughts? That quiet weight pressing on your conscience even when no words were spoken? That is Scorpio's energy working through karma. Comment if this resonates with you. Have you ever been on the receiving end of a silence that taught you more than 1,000 arguments could? Because in Scorpio's world, silence is the voice of justice. It's the law that speaks without sound. And those who betray them soon learn the loudest consequences arrive without warning. Now, as the wheel of karma completes its circle, a new chapter begins, not for the betrayer, but for Scorpio. For after the fire, the mirror, and the silence comes the ultimate revelation, enlightenment through rebirth. Let us step into the final chapter, Part 8, The Enlightened Scorpio. Here we will uncover how Scorpio rises beyond pain, transcends vengeance, and becomes the living symbol of spiritual awakening the Phoenix realized. Part 8. The Enlightened Scorpio. After every storm comes stillness, after every betrayal silence, and after every death rebirth. This is the ultimate truth of Scorpio. They are the soul who dies 1,000 times and is reborn each time, stronger, wiser, quieter. Where others see endings, Scorpio sees thresholds. Where others cling to revenge, they find renewal. And in that moment of surrender, they become something more than human. They become the Phoenix. The enlightened Scorpio is no longer bound by pain. They have burned through it. Their anger, their fear, their grief, all have been fed to the inner fire until nothing remains but light. They no longer seek closure from others because they understand that karma is closure. In Buddhist wisdom, it is said, when the fire of suffering burns away ignorance, what remains is compassion. That's what Scorpio's journey is truly about. They are born with the sacred task of turning suffering into understanding to teach the world that even pain has a purpose. When they reach this stage, their energy changes. They no longer chase justice, they embody it. They no longer seek love. They become love. Their presence itself becomes a transmission, calm, magnetic, and mysteriously healing. Those who once feared their intensity now feel peace in their silence. That's because their silence is no longer judgment, it's grace. They've learned that vengeance is unnecessary when truth governs reality. They've seen that every soul eventually meets its reflection, every wound finds its cure, and every lie collapses under its own weight. The enlightened Scorpio walks through the world like a still flame. They illuminate others not by speaking louder, but by being brighter. When they forgive, it's not forgetfulness, it's transcendence. They remember everything, but they no longer suffer from it. The memory becomes wisdom, the wound becomes initiation, and the pain becomes purpose. I once spoke to a Scorpio monk, a man who had lost everything, his family, his wealth, his identity. He smiled and said, "When I stopped fighting what life took from me, I found what could never be taken, peace. That is enlightenment. That is Scorpio's final metamorphosis." Their eyes change. You can see galaxies in them, not because they hold secrets, but because they hold forgiveness. They no longer need to prove, explain, or defend. They've become one with the law of cause and effect. They trust the universe completely because they are the universe in motion. And for those who have betrayed a Scorpio and watched them rise again, there comes an unsettling realization. You didn't destroy them, you delivered them. You were the instrument that freed them from illusion. You played your karmic role perfectly as the fire that forged their enlightenment. Scorpio understands this now. They look back at their past and bow not in pain, but in gratitude, because every wound carved wisdom into their soul. Every heartbreak expanded their capacity to love without expectation. Every silence became a prayer. This is the meaning of the phoenix. It doesn't rise in spite of the fire, it rises because of it. The ashes are not failure, they are proof of transformation. If you are a Scorpio listening to this, know this truth. You were never meant to be understood. You were meant to awaken. Your intensity is not a flaw. It's the torch that guides lost souls through darkness. Your pain was not punishment, it was preparation. And your silence is not emptiness, it's mastery. And if you have ever betrayed a Scorpio, do not fear. See this as your invitation to awaken too, to face your reflection with honesty, to repair what was broken in yourself, not for their forgiveness, but for your own freedom. Because Scorpio doesn't want your apology, they want your awareness. The enlightened Scorpio teaches us the deepest Buddhist lesson. Everything is temporary. Nothing is lost. Every soul is evolving. They remind us that betrayal, pain, karma, all of it are teachers in disguise, guiding us back to truth. Pause here. Take a breath and reflect. How many times have you risen from your own ashes? How many endings were really beginnings? Comment if this resonates with you. Have you ever found peace not by getting revenge, but by letting go? Because that is the essence of Scorpio's enlightenment. Letting go so completely that even karma bows to your stillness. When Scorpio forgives, the universe exhales, balance is restored, and the phoenix reborn flies higher than ever, carrying not pain, but light. Final message. In the end, Scorpio's story isn't about revenge or retribution. It's about evolution, the sacred journey from darkness to awareness. They show us that pain doesn't mean punishment, and betrayal doesn't mean ending. Every loss hides a hidden initiation. Every fire holds a rebirth. So if this message touched your spirit, share your reflection below. Comment if this resonates with you, if you've ever felt the silent power of karma or the miracle of your own rebirth. And remember, the path to wisdom isn't about escaping pain, it's about transforming it. Subscribe to the Path to Buddhist Wisdom for more journeys through the spiritual depths of the zodiac. Until next time, walk gently, love deeply, and trust the silence. For in the silence, all truth is revealed.